evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the WGL EU. I am Lauren Pansy Scott, and of course, I'm joined by Ollie, my beautiful co-cast for the evening, and we are into match week 9 in season 5. Now, we're getting towards the end of the season now, and things are starting to get a little close between the teams. What do you think we can expect today?
Well, we can expect some more reassurances for some of the teams. Some of them will probably get themselves into that qualification zone. I mean, the owner who's really qualified is, of course, Virtus Pro at this point. But I think some teams might kind of be able to lay to rest some of their fears now.
Yeah, there's certainly room to secure within this playday. However, things can change, and there's no one secure aside from Virtus Pro at the top. There is enough points in there still for someone to be able to catch and drop down. We'll go through that in a little bit. However, it's not just me and Ollie on the desk. Of course, it is the delightful Melly. How are you doing today, and how are the people at home going to be able to get involved with us here in the studio?
Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm feeling great, and I can't wait for today's show to start. Well, for today's matches to start, and I hope you feel the same way. If so, tell me. Head over to Twitter and tweet me by using the hashtag WGLEU. That's one way of you getting involved with us. The next way is, of course, Facebook, facebook.com/WGLEU. Follow us, become part of our network, and get all the benefits of getting notified first if something happens. And for example, we made a huge announcement yesterday, but we will talk about that later. So as said, head over to Facebook and see yourself what we've announced yesterday and today on Facebook. Of course, you can get all information regarding the matchups and teams and players on eu.wgleague.net, and of course, all the social media platforms will be listed there as well. So it's gonna be good today.
I think that's a massively important point. It is going to be fantastic today. People at home are going to have to put their money on maybe what their head says for once rather than their heart, because it is becoming very close to these teams finding out whether or not they'll be taking place in those offline finals. And Melly might have mentioned a little something about another kind of finals possibly coming up soonish, but we'll get to that eventually. However, now it's time to look back at that previous playday and get a highlight reel ready of what went down, because a lot of teams struggled, a lot of teams shone, but I think there's a lot to be looked at. Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the WGL EU Season 5 Match Week 9 VPS. They will be our first game of today as well, facing off against DTQ. Oh, Nicholas Black is about to go for the KV5, takes a beating. Already down half HP, this tank has so much to give, 1,700 HP overall. However, I think that's going to be stripped away from him quite quickly as Raging Potato will pick him up, and now Doctor trying to make a bit of a quick escape.
They're doing some good initial damage, but Mr. Chef gets cancelled out of this game via a good shot by Raging Potato, and I don't see how Panzer can survive the next onslaught either.
I don't think he can. Credit where it's due, EPS, it may be cheesy, but they are doing this so well, and they've pretty much made this an art form almost at times. They're just so damn strong at being aggressive.
And then the firing line of the Evil Panda Squad will have to deal with the rest of DTQ.
Well, let's see if they can deal with the rest of DTQ so easily as they've made it look so far. But Alex doing great work here on those close lines, and Mr. Chef still in the fight, already picking up 2 in this map. Not enough though as Lucas comes around, finds him. And now Lucas goes on the hunt. His aggression is second to none, picking up a vast amount of kills just in that move. Die here, he's stuck in a corner in the edge of the map. Catch me in, Lucas, coming round, and it's Bananic to find it. And now Doctor, last man standing. It looks like EPS have got this. And EPS pick it up at a 5-2 scoreline in the end. Virtus Pro up against Wusa. 2 teams, I think, at the start of the season, if you said was a highlight of the day, you'd probably assume I was lying. But by this point, Wusa has proven to be a phenomenal team this season. Well, let's find out. So far, they are ahead in HP, but not any longer. But it looks like Virtus Pro are pulling this one back in their favor. But the roaming squad now going to start trying to head down towards the southwest of this, but being met with some serious force.
Virtus Pro just about getting into the right position to actually deal with this push around from Wusa, and they will take down their bunkets, maybe down to some player error there.
This is dangerous, especially with Carice being able to see that there's not everyone there. They need to kind of push around with him. Breakneck might get caught in the back. Vorsic is fairly low as well. They're trying to draw them into maybe where Schnitzel can see and provide covering fire, and that's exactly what just came in towards Kusok there. Taken down some amount, however, the turnaround comes. Breakneck goes solo, does pick up Stefan, Vertilion low. Surely one more shell can come out, maybe Povel to find it, or Kusok, depending on who's there first. It will be Povel, and now the 2 left standing for Wusa make it 1, as it's just Schnitzel and it's a matter of time.
As Thailand will undoubtedly fall, but here comes a charge from Wusa.
This might work for Wusa, although they did take the opening shell there. Siege and Plucket now taking damage and nothing given back. I'm amazed. Why are no shells hitting towards the Virtus.pro side? They're backing away from this. Breakneck still alive. Vorsic finds Siege. Bishop not being able to back out as he'd like, or he's slightly in his way. However, Hobble looking to crest the hill and Schnitzel lining up a shot, but Kusok taking a lot of damage there.
And Stefan actually on the flank, but near Pazoni. Oh, I'd say that actually FKK Schnitzel is in support, but Stefan does take
horrible route they're
massive
taking.
amount of damage.
They had to go through the low ground, with Virtus.pro on the high ground, and then, I don't know if I like this. They've given up a lot of HP very early on. They better have a plan to make this one work. Schnitzel's out on his own pretty much. Stefan can no longer assist. And Rufish Point, they're there, but not all that close. The IS-3 is nowhere to be found. That's a mile back. Schnitzel takes a beating, goes down. That's a 2-for-1 exchange. And it's just not good enough, I feel. I think Virtus.pro still have this in the bag.
Virtus.pro take the game 5-2.
And Virtus.pro really claiming their dominance in that one. They just proved why they are at the top of the league. Wusa, a team that we thought may be able to pick up a challenge here or there. Occasionally it got close, but then Wusa just took it a little too far, overextended now and then, excuse me, and Virtus.pro just showed them how real class can be done.
Yeah, Virtus.pro were definitely on form, and they've had a couple of mismatches here, but they seem to be strong. I think Wusa, they could have won it, but they, that 2 or 3 player error problems they had on some maps definitely didn't help them there, and Virtus.pro, as you said, were, in a class of their own.
Certainly, and that's reflected in those rankings. Currently, Virtus.pro are sitting at the top. We can have a little look towards them because they are there by some margin as well. 25 points, 0 losses, some closer games than others, but still, 9 wins in the bag. It's astounding. They currently are the only team assured of a place in the offline finals. Top 6 outside of that has room to change, and obviously positionally wise can also adjust. Now, looking at this, who are the teams really in that hot seat that need to turn up today?
Well, Utopia and SchoolBus could potentially qualify for the finals today if they do take the 3 points, but it doesn't exactly guarantee them a spot. But I would say quite safely, if whoever wins this one takes the 3 points, then they will get themselves into a good position to get into the finals. Then we have DRL versus TCM. DRL's not that likely to qualify. I think TCM is right on that edge. If they do,
on the cusp almost,
yeah, exactly. If they do take the 3 points, then they still in the gunnings, but they have to play very, very hard games indeed. And I'm wondering if they're going to be able to beat, for instance, WSD Gaming later and also SchoolBus. And then we've got WSD versus GG Well Played. Now, I think those two have both already qualified. 100%, but I think they're pretty safe. So it's about getting themselves even safer. It's a game of security.
Yeah, and that's going to be the theme of today's games. We can have a look at all 3 in just a moment's time. And it is about who can get to that safe position, as you mentioned. So a lot of these teams are currently within the top 6, but it's about who can get to the safest position, including their games coming up almost, because let's bear in mind, TCM have got tough opponents there. They're going to have to face off against WSD down the line and many, many other talented teams. However, first game, SchoolBus Utopia. It's going to be a great one, I feel, to begin with. SchoolBus, I haven't seen in long enough, and actually Utopia are ahead of them in those rankings.
Yeah, this is the question for me. Has SchoolBus managed to get themselves over that rut they've had after the new year? And if they have, then they'll be able to win it. But that's what you guys should be looking out for. Has SchoolBus managed to improve? Have they got that synergy going? Are they the team we knew from Season 4 and Rumble in the West and even before that? Or are they slipping even further down that slope? I think it's probably going to be the former, just because they really have no choice at this point. If they want to stay in this league, they want to stay at the top, then they need to be starting getting themselves these points and getting themselves into the finals. You said they're right on that cusp and 6th place. And, also the grand finals coming up, they've got a good amount of points for that. And if they want to get themselves a secure place for that, they need to also be getting some good positions in the Season 5 finals. So it's a big game for SchoolBus right now.
It certainly is. And let's take a look at the rosters for the first game now, because SchoolBus and Utopia household names by now. I didn't think I'd be saying that about Utopia at once again the start of the season, but then again, very talented players in there that have seemed to really gel together so well. McMoney, one to point out, Polo Mako, another, and there's so many you can say from SchoolBus, but it's about how SchoolBus plays as a collective for me. How do they turn up as a team? Is it a team who's practiced, well-oiled, and everyone synergizes well? Or are they the team that just kind of doesn't have that edge anymore? That's what I'm looking at, seeing how it pans out. But for you, what's the highlight here?
Well, actually, Utopia's had a little bit of a lineup change, the first one of the season. So Mitch, 56, is no longer in the roster, and he's replaced by Sharpshooter. Or excuse me if I get that wrong. It's like full of leet speak. But he's
we'll
new.
Get Melly to translate later.
Yeah, he's new to the season. He's a good player. Obviously, he's untested in the WGL so far, so we've got to look to see how he actually performs under these kind of conditions, under this kind of pressure, right at the top of the World of Tanks competitor scene. But I'm very much looking forward to that, and I think Mitch didn't actually show up this season at all, so just having a player in there who's got that skill, maybe not the experience, but you can kind of make up for that with McMoney and Bishu and Mucker and all those lot.
Yeah, you do have a lot of experience to depend on within that lineup, but as you said, any little boost is always welcomed in this one. However, it's a dangerous time to change for Utopia. Yes, they're within the top 4 currently in 4th place with 16 points, tied with GG played. But as we said, things can still change here. They can be overtaken, they can be dropped down, and by other teams winning below them, their place can be questioned. So to change a player at this point could be dangerous. Guys at home, let us know your thoughts on that one. Hashtag WGLEU. Do you think this is the right time to be making player changes? Was it a vital one? And do you think it might affect them? Let us know before the game starts, because I think the teams are getting themselves prepared right now. But do we know the maps for this one?
Yeah, we're seeing Himmelsdorf first. That's Utopia's pick. They will be on the defense. And then we'll be seeing steps where SchoolBus will also be defending. So a couple of completely different maps. I mean, Himmelsdorf should be won by Utopia on the defense. They've had some good runs against it. They won 4 times against Wusa last time they played on this map. But the things kind of get a little bit messy on steps for them, where they struggled a little bit against EPS. They did pick up 3 wins, but still, I just want to see how Himmelsdorf goes down before I evaluate, any of these other next maps.
Because in the last couple of play days and match weeks, whichever way you want to break it down, it's evolved drastically on Himmelsdorf. It was the first, let's say, meta or change that we saw coming into the new game format was that SchoolBus really started to use the artillery. Arclit picked that one up.
Yeah.
It worked wonderfully for that Northwest camp, breaking it apart. However, a lot of teams are bringing out these crazy new styles that would really negate what that artillery can bring. So, in your opinion, do you think we're going to see SchoolBus being a little bit, let's say, blockheaded almost and sticking with the same sort of tactics that did work? Or what do you think they might change?
Well, I think SchoolBus in their current form should probably just stick to what they know. Of course, the artillery was a good pickup, but it can be countered quite drastically. I mean, we saw, I think, WSD counter it against EPS. Excuse me, I got that one wrong. But we saw them one of the teams pick up artillery, and it got countered by a strong push down the 1-3 line. So, in my opinion, SchoolBus are not going to go for it, and they haven't gone for it this time around. Instead, 2 5100s, 3 IS3s, a KV4, and a T37. And for Utopia, the Polish team, 2 T32s, 2 IS3s, 2 5100s, and a KV2. Of course, they're going to be on the defense, so they've picked up a heavier lineup.
Well, it is time to start looking towards game. We are now live into this one. It will be Himmelsdorf coming up first, and SchoolBus will be in the south on the attack, known for their game-breaking styles that we won't be seeing here today. But what will they bring out now? What's the latest thing with SchoolBus? And to stop them, to defend this one, it's Utopia in the north in blue, who've been pretty solid throughout. There's not much more to say than that, but how are SchoolBus getting into this one? What's their starting play so far?
An interesting starting play, all just heading towards the 8 line as quickly as possible. And this might actually countered out by Utopia, as they're also heading towards the 8 line and getting themselves into a very still defensive but quite offensive defensive position, trying to get maybe some side shots on to hill push. You can clearly see that Utopia's been training and they want this. Now, I want to talk about Shanish on the flank in that T37. Interesting pickup. Very quick, very maneuverable. And I guess it's really because, for whatever reason, SchoolBus have picked up a KV4, which is the first time we've seen it in this league, I believe, on this map as well. So KV4, obviously that Russian Tier 8 premium heavy tank. Very, very heavily armored as well. Probably the most heavily armored in the front. Very hard to penetrate. You of course have a few weak spots on the turret, but with a lot of HP and a lot of armor, good DPM as well, it can actually it can act as a battering ram, and I kind of feel that's what's happening on Himmelsdorf. The teams are kind of, you know, looping themselves through all the tanks and finding the tank that's really best for that battering ram situation.
Excuse me. And who's going to be playing that one, actually?
It's Armley picking that one up.
Okay, so Armley picking it. Big player to put onto that tank. So certainly something they want to stress. Something they want to keep at least in the game. So I thought it might have been that 8-line push, which would have been a disaster. However, they have adapted. They look like they're going for that northwest challenge. There are 2 tanks here. Papa in the KV2. And someone sitting back by that train station in the 5100. That T-37 is edging up, but the Annihilator catches a glimpse of Muka, who was that player in the 5100, and gets the opening exchange.
And I think even SchoolBus might want to push that T-37 further up. He's actually sniping onto Muka right now, 115 average damage, but he might just want to flank around. And to be honest, I see SchoolBus actually taking down Muka because Nuclear wasn't proxy spotted by a tank behind that building, and he hasn't spotted anything towards the right side. But you can see Utopia immediately having to adapt. And in my opinion, SchoolBus are now just losing time. They need to make a move. They need to make it quickly. Otherwise, they could be flanked by this team as they do head around. Now, Potomaca going first could get a shot onto the side. Be careful in that 5100 that doesn't overextend, but he still hasn't spotted any of the players from SchoolBus until now.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how they respond. We did see that cluster of 5100s and IS-3s, and they're actually pushing up that D-line, looking like they might want to get some cross shots on. Shellshock moving into position in the T-32. Nuclear will be waiting, but the Annihilator has found Muka. That's the 5100 down, and Shellshocked gets obliterated by Arclit. And that is a big advantage now to SchoolBus.
I'm not sure why exactly Shellshock moved across. I guess it's because of lack of spots from his teammate Potomaco. They didn't actually think so many tanks are there from SchoolBus, but Wicked next, also in a T-32, will probably fall, but Utopia are on the flank.
Money getting very low there, and look at this crossfire. The 2-2 split, Nuclear and Armley, the Annihilator and Cappy, and now Shanish on the push. Gonna punish Bishu while he's on reload, just gonna come in, bit of a drive-by, do the damage, keep eyes on. And SchoolBus are making this look very solid so far, I've got to say it. Every single move was counted and accounted for. And Utopia are left with 1k HP. Bishu championing most of that currently. Finally goes down, and now just down to Papa and Potomaco, but I just don't see this ending well at all.
One of the most one-sided Himmelsdorfs we've ever seen, especially when you consider Utopia is actually on the defense, which is a slightly stronger side on this map. Of course, 9.6 will see changes, and more about that as we do head towards the end of this season. But Potomaco is going to get spotted by Apwao. Apwao's a one-shot, so he can't peek.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'd challenge Apwao. This guy is talented. He got one shot, but did go down, and now Potomaco left on 0 HP, and SchoolBus will be picking up round number 1. Battle 1 goes in their favor, and I think that was what we were waiting on from SchoolBus. That little display there was absolutely brilliant in comparison to what we saw them struggling with after that initial find out of how to play the map. They loved it with the RT. Everyone worked that out, and they kind of slumped. But this seems like they've got a new card to play onto the table. Yeah,
they seem like more of a kind of synergized team. They feel like they've been uplifted a little bit more. They've got a little bit more energy. They're adapting well to situations. So it's great to see from SchoolBus all around. Of course, Utopia didn't do a great job there. They predicted wrong. They thought that's because Potomaco didn't spot more on that 3 line, that actually SchoolBus was further back when they were actually far forwards. They still had 2 IS-3s ready to kill Shellshocked. So Shellshock pushed forwards. Of course, he got killed as he pushed across. And that was already a tier 8 tank. Then Wicked also getting killed on that T-32. And by that time, Utopia were flanking, but it was a little bit too late and a little bit too little. So 1-0, as you said, to SchoolBus. Of course, they'll have another chance to attack again, and it could go differently. I mean, to be fair to Utopia, the first move by SchoolBus looked very promising for Utopia, because if SchoolBus had pushed all the way up that 8 line, it would have gone very well. I mean, of course, Utopia is thinking, oh, SchoolBus is going to do that classic tactic of kind of trying to get in tank through the northern place into the cap and then come flanky around. So we want to counter that first move, and we can kind of put SchoolBus into a little bit of an awkward situation, and that's enough to win when you're on the defensive side. So logic was there for Utopia, a little bit of a gamble, just unfortunately didn't work out.
And that's sometimes the way it goes in round one. We often see a new tactic shaking something up. You know, there's very hard counters to certain things, but if you've never seen it before, it's certainly hard to do. So that's the first time we've seen SchoolBus bringing that sort of play out. So
Yep.
no, not sure if they'll go for it again in battle number 2. As you said, they do get to attack once more. Maybe they feel comfortable. It didn't seem too one-dimensional. As you said, it was quite lucky in a way they didn't continue up the 8 line, that they did split off towards the northwest, had an advantage of numbers, took down Mooka very quickly, and so on and so forth. However, if then Utopia stack out the northwest side in response to the first tactic, has SchoolBus thought about that and then maybe going to continue the push up the 8 line, or try the hill play? A lot of variation available these days now in Himmelsdorf, not something I expected at all. It used to be quite the static map to a degree now. Variation aplenty. Any changes in lineup here?
Looks like the same lineup from SchoolBus. I mean, the KV4 was the 3rd highest damage dealer, so no reason to change any other tank. But looks the same, very much the same from SchoolBus, and same from Utopia. You know, again, it's not really about the lineup. It's more about the way you play. I mean, you've got the IS3s, you've got the 5100s, you've got the T32. All good in different situations. It's more about just how you actually play them on the map. We're just waiting for Mocha to join us. You know, there's a micro patch which seems to have caused some issues with some of the players, and we're getting a lot of disconnects in the game, so that might delay us a little bit today. But he should be back in any second now.
But everyone knows patch day in games.
Patch day is awesome.
It's always fun, isn't
Sick.
it? So what's not going to work out today? Oh, it's this.
Yeah.
But there's always something. So hopefully that does get resolved. It's normally fixed pretty swiftly. However, you guys at home, once again, do get involved using the hashtag WGLEU. Let us know your thoughts on SchoolBus's latest play there. Did you like it? Do you think that was a nice innovation to their original? Do you think that maybe artillery would have had a place, although there wouldn't have been that many tanks to find in that northwest corner for Arklet if he did play that similar position? Do you think there's still a position there for it, or do you think maybe Utopia would have gotten more aggressive in that one? Let us know. Obviously, hashtag WGLEU. And while we wait, your predictions overall for this one. I don't think I actually asked you on this.
I predict SchoolBus will win it because they really have no other choice.
Do or die time.
They're going to play, they're going to play TCM, and they have really no easy games left. And it's going to be hard for SchoolBus to win this, of course, but they should be able to do it. I mean, technically, SchoolBus is the top team in Europe. If you look at their previous results, Season 4 finalists, the winners there, Rumble in the West, the winners there. The only really bad tournament they've had is actually the Grand Finals in 2014, where they kind of slumped out against then Lemming Train and now non-existent in the group stages. So SchoolBus is a proven team with a proven track record, and they should, by that merit, have the ability to come back from these hard situations and actually win it. I mean, the thing is, they have that player skill. You know, Nuclear, one of the highest damage dealers in the Wargame League, Russia in Season 3. Cappy, everyone knows him from the Unity and is a very old player. And then they got Arclay, Annihilator, Shanish, Apwa, and Armley. These guys are top notch. So hopefully they can actually get themselves together and just carry that through into the 3-point wins.
Yeah, they seem to have had their honeymoon period. They're over that now. But I want to see how they then find their formation, because every time you add a new couple of players, you have this great new feeling, everything works, and then sometimes it slowly slumps. However, it looks like SchoolBus are back on the rise, but it's only round 1 done. We are into round number 2, and once again, SchoolBus will be on the attack, starting in the south in red, and now up in the north in blue. It's going to be Utopia once again trying to defend, but what play are we seeing coming out here? Because it doesn't look exactly the same from Utopia.
No, they're definitely going towards their more logical, their more normal 1 to 3, 1 to 4 line areas, and that actually might be a mistake. It depends what SchoolBus go for, if they go for the same tactic twice or if they do decide to change things up. But the thing is, you can't really second guess yourself, and I think in general, I mean, we've seen a lot of interesting tactics on the defensive side which have actually worked, but a gambling man theoretically should always go with what's best all round, and I think that's what Utopia is going for right now, and it's probably going to be the best option for them. You can see SchoolBus are heading up that 8 line. I want to see if that second pack, what looks like 5100s, if they're going to go straight up or if they're going to follow around into the middle. It looks like they're following around into the middle, giving Armley there a little bit of a nudge. In his KV4, of course, a lot heavier, a lot slower, so you'll see SchoolBus kind of surround him, protect him, and make sure that he's in position before they do make their next move.
So, 5 minutes and 38 seconds left. a little curious as to why SchoolBus did do this, the exact same thing. However, things, you know, do change it, and I'm quite actually excited to see how well it plays now against that northwest hold, this strategy that SchoolBus have brought up. Does it work at breaking more than just 2 or 3 players? First shell does come through from Armley. Bounces aplenty towards Bishu there. And now I'm interested to see where they take this and how they crest that corner.
Yeah, I want to see what that T-37 of Shanish does. Nuclear does head into the middle though. Only 1 shell connecting. Bishu should have probably found that second one, but let's get one onto Armley at least, who is doing a good job standing his ground. McMoney though getting really the better of by Arclit there, but it's back and forth between these two teams, neither really doing any more damage than the other. But Utopia definitely have the advantage in the fact that they're still on defense, and it's still all SchoolBuses to get a game to go forwards and make something happen. But you can see that 5100 in the back of that middle area. His move will probably determine where SchoolBus will end up pushing from, or maybe even the counter of that push. So as you start to head towards the middle, and maybe SchoolBus want to go for something like that. I'm kind of surprised that they're not actually doing anything with the hill. I mean, they got a T-37. They can easily just push around into A7. Yes, it might get caught out as it heads through the middle, but you might as well have a little bit of a gamble. Or you can even send a 5100 up there as you still have 4 minutes and 10 seconds left. But Mucka making a mucka of that push as just take 1,100 damage.
That pun, terrible, terrible, absolutely terrible.
I can't believe I've never used that one before.
Oh dear. Anyway, Cappy, Arclit, Armley all moving in. The rotate out actually from Utopia. They're going to go almost clockwise around them, or anti-clockwise, I think. But still, this is kind of a little bit of a strange one. They're chasing them down. Nuclear's trying to stay alive as long as possible. However, Podomaka will find him, and now that means that SchoolBus can maybe just about catch a glimpse in the back of Utopia. HP a little in favour to SchoolBus, but with these heavy tanks it can be changed pretty swiftly. But look at that fire coming from the T-37. Do you think this was the plan all along, or is this just a little bit lucky from SchoolBus to get this sort of angle towards Utopia?
It's definitely not the plan. This is an adaptation from SchoolBus. They had 2 choices. They could either sit in the cap, or they could have pushed around, and you could see there's a little bit of hesitation, but the problem is McMoney is on the side, so the Annihilator will have to try and deal with them. SchoolBus are putting on good pressure onto Papa and Wicked to stop them just pushing around and doing a lot of damage to the Annihilator. Annihilator will have to deal with McMoney, or he will be dead. I think he might even be possibly a one-shot.
They have literally just completely switched positions, and so far it's SchoolBus showing Utopia how it's done when you're on defense, but they're on attack. Still, 1 tank down for SchoolBus. A lot of HP has been taken away, but they have so many guns in the game. And you can see Papa just receiving a massive shell then, trying to back away into some sort of cover, but still. 4 tanks standing for Utopia. They need to dig deep here.
A lot of tanks have taken a lot of damage, apart from maybe Apwao, who isn't. So I think SchoolBus now need to kind of get themselves together, find an angle. Apwao will initiate. Bishu will probably fall next, but he does manage to get back. So they're going to try and put their tanks with the highest HP forwards to really take the rest of Utopia down.
Let's see if they can. Apwao has found Polo Mako. Shell-shocked and Bishu, the last 2 standing. Shanish spots out Shell-shocked, getting the shots on the cross, and it will be Shanish to deliver with that wonderful sustained amount of fire coming out from the T-37. Now the IS-3, the last in the game for Utopia, 188 HP. And a lot of tanks moving his way. You might have said in another tank he could have done something here, looking how low SchoolBus are. But at the moment, Shanish and Cappy looking like they're going to be wants to finish this one out. And SchoolBus picking up battle number 2. A variation from the first, however, proving that it can break the northwest camp by taking it over.
Yeah, they just completely switch position. Reminds me a little bit of Muravanka, actually, when you kind of see the defending team trying to go for an area, then just getting caught out. Obviously, they saw the IS-3 alone because SchoolBus were pushing around the side and they thought they had to take it down. But the mistake started with Mucka peeking then, taking 1.1k HP, and then Utopia trying to get back into the game by actually taking a tank of their own, and it just didn't work out, and Nuclear did a good job staying alive. So that's the first mistake. Utopia trying to alleviate that because they see many tanks going up the middle area. By taking Nuclear down, they do successfully, but they give away the position. And that's what SchoolBus takes advantage of. And also, McMoney up in towards A2 in an IS-3 is the wrong tank for the A2 area, because yes, he can get a couple of shells out, but he doesn't have that 1.8k burst damage which his team would need to slide them back into favor in that game.
So maybe just the wrong tanks in the wrong place, a little overzealous peeking, as you said, from Muka, really making a mess of it. And it's a shame to see, because at least one of the two defending sides you'd expect to be going in favor to Utopia. They're a team who are very capable. Bearing in mind, they are in 4th position currently. SchoolBus are in 6th. You'd expect at this sort of marker, at these sort of higher echelons here, that it'd be a 1-for-1 pickup. One round, let's say, initially goes to the defensive side, and then we see the attackers adjusting and then picking up themselves. However, 2 rounds back-to-back for SchoolBus. It's very impressive, but what do we make of Utopia on the attack?
Well, I think Utopia's been, they've been pretty good on the attack. I think they struggled a little bit, but they managed to beat Wusa on the attack, which is an accomplishment of its own in that 5-1 victory against them. So I think they can be good on the attack, but it just looks like SchoolBus are clinical. They're well executed, they're well put together right now, and it's going to be slightly easier for them to actually defend on this map. We'll have to see, of course, what Utopia's got in their basket, but I don't see them picking up around here. Lineups also come in, look again pretty strong for SchoolBus. They've gone for an M41, KV3, T32, double IS3 and double 5100, and for Utopia, something more normal from them, the M6, the Waffentrager, the triple IS3 and the double AMX 5100.
Well, tanks have been chosen, the lines have been drawn, and this time it'll be SchoolBus on the defense, and it'll be Utopia on the attack. The teams are ready. Let's start getting ourselves looking in towards game and seeing who really can take this one away. If you get onto 3 rounds by this point, it's a huge advantage. So, in the game we go, and as said, it will be Utopia this time in the south on the attack in blue, and in the north in red it's SchoolBus, but they're getting quite aggressive here on that western side. This
is quite normal from SchoolBus, actually. They like to go aggressive at the beginning. I mean, clearly with that Bulldog, it's something they're always going to do. Pretty normal tactic as well on Himmelsdorf. Send the Bulldog first, get some information for your team, possibly do some damage. You've got the 5100 in the IS3 in support just to provide that damage if necessary, and you can see Potomaka is very aware of that situation. He knows the Bulldog's on the other team, so he's definitely not going to push forward too far. The rest of his team heading over towards the right side. The M6, definitely want to be keeping your eyes on that, because it will be heading into the cap at some point if it doesn't get killed, which is quite unlikely. Muka's on the hill, so I think the most likely tactic now from Utopia would be to push the M6 through the middle with the majority of their tanks, Muka down this 0 line, then through the A line, and sit him in the cap through there. So I think Utopia, what they want to do is basically go for the cap, and you can see SchoolBus is very much aware of that. They're in position. They got the T32, the 5100, and the IS3 all ready and waiting to receive.
Here we go. So moving up the 8 line, Utopia looking like they want to show SchoolBus we can do it just as well. Actually, considering there's an IS pushed up down towards that F1 section, maybe there's a chance if Utopia. They're certainly a capable side, taking the slightly earlier road. Shellshocked and Papa heading up again to position, but Shanish surely will be able to spot this soon enough.
Pretty interesting that the IS3 is in F1. Not sure exactly why he's there, maybe to flank into the middle, but since the Bulldog hasn't spotted anything along that 1 to 3 line, 1 to 4 line, I'm kind of surprised that IS3 didn't rotate back. Maybe he's a little bit afraid that he could get caught on the side. But you'll see that IS3, as soon as the engagement does start, head towards Shanish and probably flank around with Shanish, or head through the middle and be adjacent to Shanish on just the other side of the houses that do surround that middle green area. But Bishu, Wicked heading forwards now for Utopia. So the 2 biggest tanks, I guess you could say. And I'm really looking towards the M6, because I still think it has to initiate first. Maybe the plan from Utopia is to put the M6 into the cap and then sit something behind it, but they haven't got a small tank, so it's going to be hard.
Yeah, but Papa receiving a lot of damage very early on. Taking now down below half, and look at that. Now, whether that's just to allow cover, we've seen this before. Yeah, it's just to allow cover. Shellshocked will be able to come in. The bounce comes through, but Shellshocked is actually within the cap circle this time. We saw this plan prior, and it didn't work out because I think it was Nicholas Black couldn't get quite far into the cap circle enough and went down a touch too early. But this positioning, not too bad. But the cap now being reset there means the shell shock can be damaged.
Shell shock has to be careful. It's 2 shells so far, but you've got to remember as well, SchoolBus are using a lot of shells against him. A lot of autoloaders, Annihilators on the reload, Nuclears on the reload, Apwals on the reload, and that might be actually Utopia's plan all along, just to force reloads from SchoolBus and then, you know, take their chances when they think that really the whole SchoolBus is actually out of shells and not able to respond with anything of their own. So you can see Utopia flinching, trying to get around Shellshock, doing the best he can to basically mitigate that fire by moving backwards and forwards, making it really hard for him to hit. And his team still seem a little bit unsure of what they want to do, and I think they have to make that decision very quickly. Maybe Arclit, maybe Shanish are the targets.
Well, the IS of Arclit, or IS3, excuse me, is going to be caught out drastically if they continue to push it. However, Bishu backing away a little, and actually they're attracting back, and Cap, going on a bit of a long run up that 0 line, going to come around the backside of Utopia. Arclit on fire there, getting taken down quite low, but this is a lovely position from Cappy, laying down consistent fire. It may not be high damage, but it's certainly doing a little bit of work here.
T-37 is a great tank, and it's going to get even better as they get through this game. I mean, it's going to be able to flank around, get around. He's got to be careful though, gets out of there. Arclit might fall here, but he's doing some good damage against Bishu. McMoney will probably crest and finish him off. Oh, gets very unlucky. 353, 390 average damage, and it will force Bishu to come round, but Arclit doing what he does best, staying alive.
Beautiful position in the end. Arclit just adjusting a touch, but still, it's a matter of time on this sort of point of health, surely. 55, he does go down. Bishu will go there, but he had to commit and did take a shell for it. This time, though, look at the HP overall still. SchoolBus 6.3k, Utopia 4.4, and on the attack, you want as much HP as possible. Is that going to be an issue down the line?
Definitely is. Shanish will probably finish off shell-shocked in the IS-3, and he might move on to more. I want to see what that M41 can do. Sorry, it wasn't a T-37. Maybe once it comes off reload, it will finish this game off nicely. But Utopia stuck between a rock and a hard place in the middle as the wave of SchoolBus tanks do start to flank around. Yeah,
putting the damaging now, the Annihilator coming through, taking a lot but giving even more. And it's going to be Utopia dwindling in numbers down to 3. McMoney is a one-shot. Somehow Nuclear and the Annihilator continue in this. And McMoney and Bishu trying to make a quick fold towards Applewell, but Applewell desperate for reload, waiting for it. He's buying time. He's getting Armley and Nuclear back into this. And actually Nuclear bails him out here, and Applewell doesn't get the shot off, but still, McMoney may get one. But I can imagine that's pretty much it.
Nuclear will finish him off. Did get pretty close at the end. A lot of the tanks of SchoolBus are falling. 3 do remain though, and a good solid all-round tactic from that team for sure. But Utopia just seemed to be unsure of what they wanted to do in that middle kind of area of the map. I mean, they had the M6 in a good position, Shellshock was there, but that M41 seemed to have worked wonders in that game for SchoolBus. It hit only 800 damage, but it was enough to actually reset the cap.
And it was worthwhile 800. You can argue all damage is worthwhile, but that, completely ruined Utopia's plan. And it, to me, seemed like Utopia had this one idea of how they wanted to get that cap going, get the one tank in there, the tank goes down, and we utilize it as cover. But it just seemed to go down so badly for them. And let's take a little look back at this. The first move comes out from Papa, being the sacrificial lamb. But then Shellshocked just doesn't really find much cover to be had there.
No, the top of the turret of the IS-3 is actually very weak. Very, very weak. Pretty much anything can penetrate it, and that's where Shellshock finds his trouble. And maybe a T-32 would have been better, but then the Copula, it's got more armor, but it's slightly easier to hit. And when you're considering the penetration of the IS-3, the MX-5100, it probably was the best idea, and obviously the IS-3 is slightly lower in profile. But I think the idea was good for Utopia, but SchoolBus, they had the M41 on the flank straight away. They also held their ground quite well. Arclit did a good job staying alive. And it was just a little bit of lack of decisiveness from Utopia's part that actually lost them the game. But they still need to pick up one round here. 4-0 going into the next map would be pretty bad for them, to say the very least, considering you need just 5 rounds to win this. So, guys, I'd really, really put your hearts behind Utopia, not only because, well, they need to be able to stay in this game, but also if they lose this one, then they're probably 100% out of this competition, out of this game, losing the points, and maybe even potentially throwing away their chance to get into the finals.
Yeah, I'm just checking their upcoming games, and they're not easy. WASD Gaming on the 2nd, and then GG Well Played on the 4th. That's 2 of arguably the harder teams as well. So they've got a tough tough match ahead of them
That's
now.
a second and third. So
yeah, they're literally going to have to pull out all the stops. Obviously, there's no easy route to the finals. Every team will have to play every single other team at one point or another, but playing those as your last two is your last chance.
not great.
Quite difficult. However, then again, that basically means that they have to hope that every team lower them doesn't pick up a win either. That's as simple as it is. They have to hope that Wusa and SchoolBus
SchoolBus, yeah.
outside of this game don't pick up wins.
Yeah.
It's all dependent on other teams here. That's the thing. We could theorize one team's road, but then if one other team makes a miraculous, pick-up of 2 games in a row and it's surprising, then it kind of goes out the window. But still on the line, they are tied for 3rd position at the moment. WGL played Utopia, but as we said, this game is massive. They want to get this one in the bag. They want to at least maybe get some points away from SchoolBus as well. You can stop them getting to the offline finals if you don't want them there. Maybe go to the 5th and final map if you can. However, I do believe the teams are near on ready. We can start getting into this one right about now. So look, take me through these lineups. Anything changed, anything different, or exactly the same?
Pretty similar setup from SchoolBus. They have picked up a KV3, so pretty interesting to see what that one can do. Pretty interesting to see what that one can do. They chose the same tank last time round as well. I'm always a big fan of the KV3. If you guys haven't got it in your garage, I definitely recommend it. Probably one of the better tier 7 heavy tanks, of course, alongside the T29 American one. But yeah, same lineups from both teams. Wicked, I'm going to have to look towards, of course, playing the Waffenträger, maybe one of the pioneers in this league for that tank. And we've seen, Evil Panda Squad pick it up. We've seen a lot of Druidian Leprechauns as well, Message using that tank. But it's really what they do and what kind of damage they do. Now, Waffenträger on the hill straight away, the 5100, does say to me that it's going to be sitting in A8 in the bush and trying to get shots on through the buildings and do some damage to SchoolBus. So whereas before Utopia were going for the cap first, now I think they're going for the damage, and then the cap will come later on if they do enough damage, and maybe even just push through since they don't have that M6.
5 minutes and 33 seconds on this. And it's all eyes on Utopia for me. What can they bring? Can they find anything here? And already Cap, look at that. I love getting towards SchoolBus. When they find form, I've had my heart broken a little by these guys this season. The hits and misses, the ups and downs.
We've all had heart broken by Apwell.
Exactly. He's a cutie, 1, 2, 3. But still, it's they're a hard team to believe in sometimes, because up until this point they haven't looked this solid in the last couple of match weeks. After that Christmas break, they came back and they did look a lot worse overall. However, this is the first inkling of them being back to some sort of form. However, as soon as I say that, of course, Armley's taken the most damage.
Yeah, but having him take damage, not massive deal. KV3, also good knowledge of where Utopia want to go, and I think SchoolBus can be pretty happy with knowing that that MX-51 is down south, and also the T-37, so they can kind of guess that, well, if Utopia have got tanks up north, tanks down south, that they can have join up together before they do make a move, and that's going to take at least, let's say, a minute for them to get into any kind of position. Now, Wicked's now in the A0 area. He's playing that Waffenträger, so he's going to be able to get good shots down if he can find it. Of course, SchoolBus are really aware of that, and they do actually make some blind shots towards, no, not even blind shots, just normal shots towards him. Yeah. And he's got to be careful. There are some bushes, but they're very thin. Of course, each bush has its own camo value. Adds to your camo value, somewhere between 30 and 50%. And I think it's going to be on the lower scale on this map. But Wicked does receive 315 from Apwell.
No one going down just yet, though. And I think we can agree on this one that if SchoolBus picks up this round, I think we can call it game over almost. I think that's when you call it GG. But still, peeking out. He's done marvellously in this Bulldog. That time didn't maybe expect a little bit of a crossfire then. But he's been doing like nice little snippets of damage here and there, keeping tabs on them. And I like the Bulldog. It adds a little bit more of a new dynamic to Himmelsdorf. I mean, it's very rare you see tanks like this pop up.
A little bit of a mistake there from Cappy. He didn't actually realise he could get shot through that.
There was an angle to be had there.
That's... I mean, Cappy's a good player, is very experienced, but he does make these little mistakes that can cost him his life or at least a lot of health. And Gotta be careful he doesn't make that. But at the moment, he's just time wasting. He's spotting for his team. He's kind of knowing where they all are. But I think this is game over for him right now, as he couldn't go forwards, he couldn't go backwards, and Proto Mako will mash him up. And Cap does fall, the first tank in this match.
Two minutes and 33 seconds.
What?
Mash him up, Polo Mako.
I think you're the only person in the world that would have actually clocked
I'm
onto
so
that.
used to you making these, every sentence of what's he said here, what's he done. Still, 2 minutes. This is a very slow round from Utopia. And the problem is that if you look at the HP, and this applies in any game, any attack and defense style game, that if you're even or slightly below on HP for an attacking side, you lose so much of potential to push to any location you may want to get to. A vital location, you will suffer maybe one hit, let's say, just on the cross. And the problem is that if you're attacking, you can't really afford to do that. Even Shellshock there receiving a little for absolutely no dividend. And now the IS-3s are actually moving up that 5 to 6 line, looking like they want to start maybe a play out of this, because they need to. They need to find something here, because otherwise they're going to be pretty much down and out. But Bishu going straight in. They're hoping that that little bit of a bait and switch from Shellshock has done enough, and Bishu's actually made it there. Now Money coming in. He needs to finish the job, and he does. Money left out a little in the open, though. He could be in trouble here. Does, I believe, get tracked, but Bishu trying to provide cover, but scattered targets. But here comes the rest of Utopia, and they're looking to equal this one.
It's actually going quite well for Utopia. I mean, McMoney clearly made a mistake, but they have got the flank on. They have surrounded SchoolBus quite well, and they're really going to be able to do some pain here. Apwal will probably fall to Mako, who does get very unlucky with that roll, but the next one will surely secure that kill.
Yeah, now 4 left for SchoolBus. Can they dig themselves out of this hole? I'm not sure. Sitting around the 4K marker for HP, and down to some of the newer additions with some of the old guard there. Annihilator and Nuclear with Arclit. And Arclit no longer. There's 3 now left. Cap underway. 2 left. 4 tanks moving in towards them. Fire comes in. Oh, but Shanish from the back finds Muka. Waiting on reload, but it's a long wait in these ones, and Shanish now has nothing to bring here as Nuclear left in the corner. And well, Shanish being hunted down by 3. Last man alive. Shell doesn't quite find his way from Polo Mako. However, Bishu's will be pixel perfect, and 3-1 will be the first map scoreline.
Yeah, pretty bad stuff there from SchoolBus. They kind of got distracted down that line. They were complacent, and Utopia just pounced on that with I think it was a last-ditch effort. I didn't think they'd ever expected it to go that well. But it did go that well. I mean, fantastic damage from Bishu with 2.3k, Wicked with 2.2k as well. Great damage from him in the Waffentrager. But yeah, I think SchoolBus kind of thought they had won it before they had won it. They had the whole distraction with the M41. They were buying time. They saw shell-shocked in the IS-3, and it was pretty clever. Utopia got themselves enough tanks, pushed through the middle. McMoney should have probably kept himself a little bit safer. But they got themselves all around SchoolBus and managed to collapse and kill them.
Yeah, so nicely done. Let's have a little look back at some of those moments as well, just to refresh your memories before we start talking about map number 2. And as you can see, this being the fold, very few tanks even looking this way. You can see the Annihilator, Nuclear, I think Arclit was there with them. No one was really looking the other way. After Shellshock made that one peek, took a little bit of damage, it allowed Bishu, McMoney and Polo Mako to get here, and then allow Mucker, Shellshocked and Papa to keep the fire coming in. The crossfire was well done. The damage was well spread, and it seems as though maybe there's some potential left with Utopia. There's a reason they're within the top 6 currently. I think we finally saw a glimpse of that in the final round, but there's still a lot more to come. And what is our next map?
Our next map is going to be Steps. I'm sure some of your favorites. It's going to be on the defensive side, SchoolBus. So, of course, the attacking side is going to be Utopia. 3 wins against EPS for Utopia on Steps. Might be more of EPS's lacking ability on this one, but that was just before December, so a lot of things have changed since then. And SchoolBus really have been a lot better on this map. They won 4 times against DTQ. They've been absolutely on form. And considering they haven't played Himmelsdorf since before December, they should have done a lot worse than they actually did in that round. So just on previous results and kind of things we would expect, SchoolBus looked like the stronger team in this match and also in previous matches.
Certainly a factor into this. However, you guys at home probably voted in your droves already, and I know Utopia have got some new fans coming up. There's a good couple of players, Polo Mako in the lineup, keeping the fans locked in towards that side. So, Melly, how are the votes going? Because this is quite the one-sided game so far. Is it actually looking that one-sided when you include all the votes?
Absolutely. I mean, the voting result for SchoolBus for now, you know, you still have to break to vote, so don't worry yet. It's 79% for SchoolBus, so it's pretty clear. And if you look on the predicted results of this match, it's still very one-sided. So people you guys well, knew what's gonna happen. Let's see if it stays like this over the second map. As said, you still have time to vote during the break, which will be a bit later on, because we have something very amazing and new to tell, right, Ollie? We announced the location of the grand finals.
Yeah, we did. We announced it to be, of course, Warsaw, 25th and 26th of April. So the end of April is going to be an absolutely insane event. I mean, the biggest World of Tanks and wargaming event of the year. Probably even better than, I would say, Gamescom. And Gamescom, if you've ever been to it, is just absolutely insane. So if you're anyone who's anyone, you have to be there on 25th and 26th of April. Expo XX1, can't exactly.
21, yes.
21, yeah. I didn't even know that, 21. So 25th and 26th of April is going to be absolutely sick.
Yeah, and do we know how many teams are actually joining us on this event?
Yeah, so, well, it's going to be top 2 teams from each region, as it was before, and then we're going to have 2 wildcards, and those wildcards will be decided a little bit later. It's not going to be announced yet, and of course we don't know the top 2 teams from each region yet. So we're seeing SchoolBus right now, who are one of the top teams, one of the contenders as they were last year. But it's just basically a combination of all the best World of Tanks players at one event fighting for eternal
A lot of money.
A lot of money. Also,
lot of money, yes.
big trophy and eternal glory.
Absolutely. I mean, the last grand finals were absolutely amazing. People, if you want to rewatch the VODs from this event, just head over to youtube.com/WGLEU, and you will find them. They're still rotating in the top viewed videos of our channel, so you will definitely see them. And well, it's definitely worth having a watch back. Even it was the old format, right? We will be playing.
Yeah, it was 742. Now we're playing 754. So I think this event is just going to be amazing. I mean, looking at the plans for it, I mean, we've got so many cool things that are going to come forward. We can't wait to show you guys.
Absolutely. I can't wait for it to be April. Well, people, get involved. Tell us your thought about the grand finals, about today's match day, about the matchup, the map we just saw, and how the teams did. Just tell me everything what's on your mind by using the hashtag WGLEU over on twitter.com. And, of course, follow us at WGLEU for getting a live feed. If you can't watch the stream, don't be sad. You will still keep updated. You will be still kept updated about the happenings of today by simply following our Twitter account, and yes, you won't miss any second going on the servers, even if you can't watch the stream actively. So people, 5 minutes of break, time to vote, to follow our platforms, to have a look where you can find the VODs, and maybe grab something to drink and eat. So see you back in 5.
It's match week 9 and we are into map number 2 of our first game here between SchoolBus and Utopia. Map 1 was Himmelsdorf. It was a 3-1 scoreline in favour to SchoolBus, and well, it was pretty decisive.
It certainly was. Big result for SchoolBus after a couple of shaky matches they had previously, so it's looking good for them right now. We are just heading into steps as we speak. Lineups, I can quickly run them through you, by you. Double AMX 1390, double 251, Bulldog T32 and Arclit. Of course, the main man who can in the SchoolBus, it's the M44. Double Bulldog, 5 IS3s. Took me a while to count that from Utopia. So yeah.
Have they got like EPS's little like playbook? If I read it upside down.
It might just be EPS like, playing them. I don't know.
You never know. You know, it's.
But they have decided to go for those 5 IS3s. I say those. I would say it's maybe an old format. We saw those heavy tanks being used so predominantly on this map. But it's on the attack as well, so that's a surprising thing.
Are they doing this to mess with me, do you think? Like, I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. That's a lot of IS3s. That's very slow. Use that hashtag WGLEU. What the hell is this about? What is going on here? Because Ollie theorised where this can be used, because I have no idea what the hell that many IS3s can really do now.
Well, it's shock and awe, isn't it? I mean, a lot of HP, a lot of firepower, all heading in one direction. It's one of those things which kind of works in water tanks only once, but it definitely works. As long as you get it right, then SchoolBus might not have a chance here. They don't have the most amount of HP, they don't have the most amount of firepower. I mean, Utopia sitting with a full, almost exactly 2k more HP, 1,980 more HP. That's a huge amount. That's over a tier 8. That's basically having an extra tier 8 tank on your team. And then when you consider the damage they can do with those IS3s, it's just phenomenal. They'll absolutely cancel out anything that SchoolBus throws their way. Let's see how this one works. I guess SchoolBus Utopia's going to push straight in towards the cap, or maybe even towards a lower trench side, and try and take down some of these tanks as quickly as possible. And as I said, shock and awe, that's what they're going for.
The slow shock and awe, I feel, as the IS3 start creeping towards that eastern side cap, as McMoney gonna head there. And I'm still very dubious about this, but who am I to judge this one if it's gonna work out? And the cap has started, and as you said, a lot of HP so they can withstand, and a lot of firepower that they can sustain towards the likes of Shanish. Normally those T32s, anything around those markers can look so beefy, but right now, not much to it. Shanish very low. Muka not going to finish it. The Annihilator is behind them, but for once, maybe this position isn't so strong.
Well, he's kind of really separated from the rest of the team, whereas if you were playing against something weaker than the IS3s, you could maybe peak. But what can peak really from SchoolBus? Nothing, and even that M44 is not really doing much. 144. Shanish does get found by Muka, finally going down on that 251. The Annihilator's next peak might be as last as Bishu finds him and takes him down.
This is just going very, very badly. The artillery
as well,
landing short, and that might have been the last-ditch attempt as another tank will swing by, but make no odds as Wilk will do the drive-by, and it looks just as though Utopia, it may have been shocking, it may have put SchoolBus in awe, but it seems to have just about worked, and I think Utopia have done enough.
It's one of those things which is just like, you never think about it unless you trained, and then you just had an idea and you just went through it. It's like, it kind of makes sense when you think about it, but it's one of those things where you never expect it to work. But it did work, just about. If Arclit had hit that last shell, it might have gone a little bit differently, but I just don't see how SchoolBus could have dealt with Utopia then.
Okay, so let's put it this way. Why doesn't every team pick that on attack?
Because then you would first of all know where they're going. I mean, SchoolBus wasn't really sure. They were thinking that they'd go up to the left, so they were a little bit late. The Annihilator was in that position, but you can counter that by picking a bigger artillery, a more accurate artillery, or just a heavier lineup altogether. So if it's that every single time, you can actually just counter it with your own kind of tactical and lineup changes. And I think even then, if SchoolBus had known beforehand, I think it could have been a different story, and they might have had something to try and counter this.
But it is another EPS style thing coming out here. The EPS have come up with this crazy all-in tactic that worked on Prokhorovka with the 251s in mass, or a 1390 here or there, but everything of the same kind. and just hunting people down. And we found another example where it actually does work. And sometimes these cheesy strategies will pay off because, it's one round. It's very hard to predict. It's very hard to foresee that. And surely they won't be doing it a second time, or will they?
Well, it looks like they're trying it twice. I don't think it's going to work a second time. Maybe they have two tactics for the same lineup. I mean, that's certainly possible. Maybe heading to the second cap is just the first one. Maybe heading to the first cap is the second one they go for. So they have these two options right now, and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go down. If SchoolBus decide to be a little bit more aggressive with their scouts, then they'll actually find out where Utopia is going, and they'll be able to do something with that information. And of course, if Arclit does a little bit more damage to that M44, it'll be certainly better. But we have to see, of course, how that one's going to work out for them. In my opinion, SchoolBus is going to be able to come back from this and pick up the next round, but it will be hard. A lot of IS3s to deal with a lot of HP. They have to kind of kite them around the map, use the speed to their advantage. And yes, you definitely got it on the nail on the head then. It's going back to 742 in a lot of respects with the kind of slow lineups on this map, using the force, using the firepower, using the hit points to try and barrage your way into these situations and basically just mathematically overmatch the other team.
So now for me then is, what is SchoolBus going to do to try and change that? Will they go for you lay down the options, a heavier lineup that could probably just counter it, keep it equal on that footing, or maybe a bigger artillery? Arclit, is he feeling confident? Is he maybe looking for something more?
I'm not sure. I mean, they haven't picked up any tier 6s, so it would be my guess that he's going to stick to a tier 6 artillery himself. And
what would you recommend? Would it be the French artillery we saw?
Yeah, Lorraine 15551 is an option. M40, M43 is also good because of the splash damage you have. You'd be able to hit all those tanks in the cap and do like 900 to 200 to 900 damage in one burst, and of course you'll hit every single tank, so you'll decap everything in that place. So I don't know, 50-50. Arclit's still out of the garage, still in the garage, looking for a tank to find.
Deliberating.
Maybe he's going to use the AMX-13 F3, more accurate, a little bit more damage, but of course you don't have so much quantity of shells. The M44's of course got a much better reload at 17 seconds. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I think Utopia is one of those teams that like to try things again and again, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But looking at them, they're actually heading back to the garage, at least most of them. When the admin gives a sign to repick their tanks, they might actually be going for something a little bit more quick here.
I would have been surprised if they did go for the same thing again, because as we say, it's rare that something so one-dimensional will be able to be applied twice when the opposite side will now be slightly more accustomed to it, have that counter in mind. But then again, if they forced SchoolBus to play now a different game, to bring out either a heavier lineup or that bigger artillery, all of those other options, then maybe they've got a counter ready for that. Because for me, it's, if you start, let's say, a new map, you're in round 1, battle 1, and you do this all in play, you can then kind of assume that maybe the opposite team will come out with a counter, and then for round number 2, how do you counter that? You can kind of plan it out, and the amount of times we're starting to see that happening is phenomenal. Whether it be on Moravanka, that northwest camp, locking it down, drawing the players into it and destroying them, it's all starting to build up and show. Kasner, another team who did it on Ruenberg on the Eastern Village, when they just perfectly allotted the amount of tanks, knowing where the opposition was likely to play, and read it very, very well. And I'm wondering if that's going to happen here. I want to see how these guys pick their tanks, how it goes down. If you're going to bet your money on a score after this battle, where are you going?
I'm going to go with SchoolBus. I never expected Utopia to do that. I mean, clearly Utopia knows that they're right now at the last hurdle and need to be doing these special tactics to be able to get these points. So, I don't know. I would go for SchoolBus. It looks like Utopia have gone back to basics. They're picking the 251s. They're picking the MX-3090s. Arclit's still in the garage, so I'm not sure exactly what he's going to use here. But Pershing being picked up by Nuclear. MX-3090s. They're not using so many heat shells this time around. And indeed, Arclit with the Su-141. The tier 7 Russian artillery, and so, that's certainly capable of doing some good damage.
But now against a faster lineup, is he going to be finding it difficult to find his way in the game?
Potentially. I mean, that's the thing. They've gambled and maybe not gambled correctly, but I mean, he's done it kind of correctly. I mean, the Su-14 is it kind of has a lot of, it's again, not very accurate, but it's got a better rate of fire, it's got damage, and that's where it's going to be played for. It's not a massive gamble. It's not like he's gone for like a T92 or an M40, M43, where it's only really good against those heavy tanks.
So it's funny, isn't it? We're almost seeing again what we saw with Doctor when he picked it up, the different level of what effect the artillery can have towards a team's composition. You know, the M44 literally, you know, it doesn't change the world. It's pretty small, but it does do the damage when necessary. Then you go up, and every single time you have to weigh up the pros and cons. Is this worth taking a 1390 out of the game for? Is the team ahead of, you know, in front of us going to then just rush us? Can we still apply the same sort of theory craft to it? All up in the air. Arklit is a phenomenal artillery player. We haven't seen him really hit that form in a little bit of time now. Obviously making a name once again for himself on Himmelsdorf, but he's been a little hit and miss, I feel, since he's been playing that on a regular basis. But I'm glad to see him back in the big boy artillery. Let's see what he can bring to this one. And it's all down to Utopia. We said this is a big game. They are bringing out the big guns. So let's take ourselves towards the battle now. The teams are ready. Let's find out how this one goes. So, starting up into the north in red, it will be SchoolBus on the defense. In the south, on the attack, Utopia. And this is a very different start. Yeah,
a different lineup as well. As I said, the artillery being picked up by SchoolBus, also the charioteer from Utopia. And I really want to see how that one works out for them. Of course, we've seen it before. Not used 100% effectively, but it can do some serious damage. And Utopia going a little bit aggressive at the beginning, trying to find some initial damage, some initial spots, and SchoolBus, looking at the kind of lineup they picked up, know that they're probably going to go back to something a little bit more original, a little bit more basic. They've taken some good spots up in towards that left side, although Apwao and Co are heading back around in towards the trench side, and Annihilator Armley will also have to do that, and Shellshock does receive the first shell of the game.
Certainly does. I can't wait to see if Arklit can really find his footing here. I think he did just make his first shell. I don't think he found anything, however. I think we might have seen if there was an impact there. And at the moment, he's at least going to be in a good position if they do go for the cap. But we've seen so many times now the cap and push, let's call it, that they just head straight out and then go for a little more. But what do we make of it so far? Anyone making any surprising moves, or is this quite the standard start to this?
Well, we're seeing Wicked and McMoney now head up north, and he's going to be getting behind that bush, and it is a little bit standard. I'm kind of surprised that Utopia is doing this. I mean, They obviously have a little bit more plans, but they haven't really got a tank that can sit in that camp for a long periods of time. Of course, as well, Shanish is playing that T32, so he can go hull down and make the shells, and Arklit in the SU-14. Also very capable, I think it was the SU-8 beforehand, now called the SU-14. One of my favourite tanks, artillery. But the cap's on the way. That's via the AMX 1390, but again, I don't think it's going to be really successful. Cap's heading forwards, but Wicked on the side might be a bit tricky. And it will be down to Arklit to reset, but again, I think he should be able to do it.
Yeah, the slight upgrade, the higher investment into the artillery, and you can see the difference in McMoney. Dodging shells, trying to at least. Yet to really see much from Arklit. He still has that shell available. No real rush on this, though. It's a 70-second cap. He wants to make the shots count if he has to make them, which he can do. And McMoney just trying to stay mobile, stay on his toes. Outside of that, we're starting to see, you know, a couple of the players edging in nuclear, just letting off a shell here or there. And already, that 251 heading down south could be looking for an angle in, and there goes Arklit shell. Not found its target.
No, he hasn't got a good splash, so he just needs to find a little bit onto him, but didn't manage to. But it's going to cause the mobilization of SchoolBus after that reset is unsuccessful, all heading up north. Wicked, though, might be able to mitigate some of this damage, might be able to do some good damage of his own as well, but he's not peaked, he's not gone forwards enough. And that will catch Utopia by surprise. They're over the railroad track as well, so they've got that hill towards the left, but do they know Wicked, so they're right?
I don't think they do just yet. Now they will. The first shell comes in. Apwao completely ignores it, but the Annihilator cannot. He needs to be the one to challenge and find some sort of resistance, and the cap has been halted, but more tanks now approach from Utopia. Wilk will be singled out here. And Shellshocked creating a nice crossfire, but Shellshocked is down low. Wilk goes down. Apwao finds it. And this is a dangerous time to pressure SchoolBus. They are firmly in the lead now. 5.9k HP to 4.5.
Well, they're kind of cornered a little bit. Bishy's just going to be able to peek and do a lot of damage, and SchoolBus are going to have to stay stopped if they want to actually make the shells. But Nuclear receives a big one there, and Bishy doing a good job. SchoolBus have to kind of stop this game. They have to stop this charge from Utopia, stop them getting the damage back. They've got themselves a good advantage. They just need to hold on to it.
And you say that, but look at the HP now. It's getting a little closer than it was prior. But the Annihilator taking a bit. Armley gives it back, but Money does take him down. Shellshock finds Applewell. It's going a bit wrong for SchoolBus here. That initial play was great. They made up for it, but a stunner from Arclit catches Bishu on the cross. And now keeping it a little closer as SchoolBus retain that slight HP advantage, shell by shell, keeping themselves in this game. But Armley missing one there, and that may allow McMoney to peer across, feel aggressive, feel confident. I don't know if I would. Now Armley up against McMoney.
Armley's going to be in trouble, I think, though. He might find McMoney, but he'll probably get killed himself.
Look to the east as well. The 251's made its move into the enemy camp. Look at Potomako straight away in there. He's not messing around at all. Just going to go try and head towards Arclay, I think. Going to try and get him out of this one. It's a suicide run from Potomako. He should have a shell just about available.
Oh.
Arclay misses it. Not what he wanted. Potomako gets in there. And now around the back, the MVP from previous weeks, Potomako, making the difference here. The T-32 too slow to react. The Bulldog not enough to bite. And now Potomako can just rain in shells towards Nuclear. And that was just well thought out by Potomako.
Yeah, very, very good play by one of the star players of many teams, and he's been fantastic for Lemon Train. He's been fantastic now for Utopia, making a shell though, and that's the heat ammo struggling a little bit, but still Shanish and Cappy remain, and 1 minute and 20 seconds left for Utopia to try and close out this game. I think they will be able to do it. They can actually cap this one underway, but Cappy will probably find Papa, but again, Potomako in support.
Chariots here moving in towards that T-32 as well. Shanish, one of the men who initially championed picking that up, might be taken down by it as Muga does get the kill, and one of the first teams to test that tank out on this map, being shown how it's done. And now Cap, with a couple of shells remaining, has to somehow do a miracle reset, dodge 2, make it 3. I think he knows this one's done for, and it looks like Utopia are back in the game, ladies and gents. Potomako with a phenomenal battle there, and it's Utopia tying this one back all even, all square.
Yeah, nice play by Utopia. Quite surprised, actually, that they managed to bring that one back. But again, it's that positional play which gave them the advantage. I never expected Wusa from Utopia to be able to get into that position and get themselves that damage. But when SchoolBus were trying to retreat, which was the mistake, they tried to retreat, and you can't retreat in that situation because Mucker in that Charioteer was on the side, who happened to do 2.3k damage the first time we've seen that tank actually being used effectively.
Yep.
So as soon as SchoolBus were trying to retreat, boom, 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 gets the shells in the side, 8.6 seconds reload, 390 damage, and that's your game over. So SchoolBus should have held their ground, they should have stopped Bishu going forwards, and they should have carried on playing with Arclit and just proxy spotted Utopia, but Utopia did it great and sent Potomako from behind when they had the advantage there. And Arclit missing that shell. I mean, he can't be expected to hit it, but if he did, it could have been a different story as well.
Yeah, it's one of those shots that you know there's a chance of, let's say, 10% you're going to hit it, maybe.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's that close range. Artillery's not quite made for that, surprising. I'm sure you're well aware. And it,
well, I would have hit it, but...
Of course, there's no question about that. You're the best artillery in the world.
It's too easy.
Yeah, Arclit learned from you, right?
Yeah. I could only even have to use artillery mode to hit any kind of shell, even 1,000 meters. I think I taught Arclit, yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. He was calling you senpai or something. It's very weird. Anyway, if you believe any of that, I don't know what to make of you. However, the teams now will be adjusting sides. So hopefully they can kind of bring out a nice, strong game now on the other side, because I don't mind who wins this one, if I'm honest. Utopia have shown us some real intelligent strategies coming out on the attacking side on this second map, I've got to say. And SchoolBus just seemed to take it as standard, just kind of try and coast through it. They responded as predicted to the initial IS-3 play, which is fine. There was nothing wrong with that. But then, you know, in the actual game time, they just lacked what was needed, and Utopia picked it up. So for me, I don't mind who wins this. Are you favouring anyone right now? Did we see enough from SchoolBus in that map to say maybe this is Utopia's yet?
I'm kind of surprised that SchoolBus lost both defensive rounds. Utopia, as you said, strong on this map, looking good. The thing is, attack and defense are completely different ball games on any map, and especially steps. I have to see what SchoolBus are capable of doing on the attacking side. They look like a better attacking team than they look like a defending team. On Himmelsdorf, they were their least close games they had. But lineups also have come in. Charioteer play by the Annihilator, kind of surprising. Double, triple 251, Bulldog times 2, AMX 1390. That's from SchoolBus. And from Utopia, quadruple 251, double AMX 1390, T37.
Which one would you rather be in? Which lineup would you prefer? Because they're not too different in a way. They're still...
Well, Annihilator's good at keeping himself alive. He's that AMX 1390 player, so he's very used to having a low amount of HP, a low amount of armor. So I kind of want to see what you can do. Muka did a great job last time he played that tank. So
yeah,
let's see what Annihilator can do. But for me, at the moment, I would prefer Utopia's lineup because of those 4-2-5-1s.
Well, let's see if that is the way it pans out. We'll be going into the final half here on the second map. 2 rounds to be played. And I don't know who's going to win it, if I'm honest. Hashtag WGLEU if you think you do. Give us your thoughts on the matchup so far. Do you like the way SchoolBus played on Himmelsdorf? Is it just kind of fizzled going into map number 2? Get involved. Get in touch with us. And of course, get ready for those next votes as well, coming up on Facebook very soon. Keep your eyes peeled towards that one. Obviously, WGLEU as well. All that good stuff. So guys, enough of me. Let's start looking about where these tanks are going to be heading towards. So into the second half we go. In the south on the attack, it's SchoolBus looking to maybe once again take control of this game. And in the north, in blue, it's Utopia on defense.
Yeah, switcheroo has happened. At the moment, Utopia have picked up both attacking rounds in quite clear fashion. I mean, not the most clear games, but Utopia were a good 15-20% better than SchoolBus. But SchoolBus now on the attacking side, as I said, more of an attacking team altogether, and they decided to go up the left side. Also sent the 2-5-1 in the middle, and again, Utopia switching things up. They're being aggressive. They sent Papa through the middle, caught Shanish out with a couple of shells, and the other 2-5-1s are heading down south and looking for Cappy.
They certainly are. Shanish, though, pushing quite aggressively, and this is a strange game. We're seeing aggression and passive play, but this one, it's all guns a-blazing, and Shanish has 3 tanks on him, but he still comes out swinging, gets 1, waits for the backup, and here comes the cavalry. Apwell, Nuclear, Armley, all heading across. Armley takes 1 on the cross, but still makes it there just about in time, and Shanish somehow stays alive.
And you got the T-37 in the background at the moment, the only one who's really doing any damage. Annihilate has to start coming into this game with that Charioteer, and he certainly is, as he finds Wicked with 432 damage. But both teams have put in pretty much equal amount of resources into the middle. But the problem is the Annihilator is doing the damage, but Arclit being caught out by Potomako. Arclit just has to do as much damage before he dies.
And he's doing it. He is doing everything he can, and he might actually win this. Arclit, what a phenomenal play coming out from this man so far. Him and Shanish just staying alive against the odds. And Utopia slightly lacking in numbers. Switching positions, and both caps are now open for the taking if they want it. But we know the retake from the south can be quite devastating.
But SchoolBus have now great positions. They've got all 7 tanks alive. They've taken down both Papa and Potomako, 1 via Arclit, 1 via the Annihilator. They've also got the northern cap. They need to start. They now need to start getting the various areas Utopia can flank into safe. So the left side, the right side, and the middle. Once they have that safe, they can just keep Dead Hunter in the T-37, not particularly M41, sorry. I always get that confused. M41 in the cap, and wait until Utopia makes the next move. But I would still say Utopia has a chance. They can play for the time a little bit, get the late resets in, and then hope that with those 2-5-1s at some sort of distance that they can do some good damage against SchoolBus and maybe even find a tank to kind of level it up.
Well, here we go. 28 seconds. 1390 out to the east, and the rest, the bigger cluster of Utopia, laying down the fire from the western side. And I wonder if is it Potomako still alive? No, Potomako is down. I thought it was going to be him on the split again, just for the sake of it. But still, 21 seconds left. Is this going to be a game for SchoolBus here? Do they have it? But look at Shell Shocked. He snuck through on an angle, misses the shell. That's huge. Surely that should have been a hit.
Shanish is there to deal with him, but he's not really dealing too much at this point. He has to try and do some damage there, but 14 seconds left. It's all on Shell Shocked, and great shell by the Annihilator, but he will reset. Almost certainly will also die. Ooh,
Should
have died.
Yeah.
But SchoolBus weren't quite there, and they weren't really willing to sacrifice Shanish, and it will cause them to surge forwards as they know that at least one Tier 8 tank's out of position.
Well, can they make the most of this? 3 minutes and 13 seconds left. Armley, Dead Hunter, and the Annihilator going to be trying to lock down one, but the shells just aren't hitting right now. I don't know if they've suddenly lost control, but they're missing a lot of shots, and that's not really all that characteristic of SchoolBus.
But I'm sure Wicked will go down, but they didn't go for Wicked. He went for Bishu, and I think Wicked and the Annihilator even missed that shell, as you said, not going too well for them. But Bishu does fall via the Annihilator, finally connecting that shell. And, well, 4 tanks remain for Utopia. Shanish might fall here, bring it down to 6 if McMoney finds him, but just about getting into safe positions. The M41 or the 251s will now have to try and support Shanish, lock down McMoney, and then move on to the rest. But still, time is running out for SchoolBus.
It certainly is, and this is starting to go on for some time. The 251s are off towards the east, and bearing in mind SchoolBus are on the attack. They have the time limit, 2 minutes and 18 seconds. If they let this slip, it will be absolutely atrocious. They have every single player alive. And there's still that danger of McMoney, still the danger of players slipping in and getting a couple of resets, and that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, McMoney's just getting the drive-by on every single time, making the shells, and at the moment Utopia's certainly hitting more, but SchoolBus have, well, over double the HP of Utopia.
Yep.
So they just have to make a decisive move and they'll win it. And they have a tier 8 tank more, a tier 8 light tank more. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think Armley and Annihilator will just surge forwards. They'll find some sort of position, some sort of angle on Utopia, and then simply cancel them out. And McMoney will be first on the chopping board. Wicked will quickly follow. Cap's going to be under the way as kind of the second option for them. But this should be easy pickings.
Should be, but I started doubting it, but it looks like it's being taken back into the SchoolBus hands here as Nuclear did find McMoney, and now 20 seconds left. It is getting quite close on that timer, but the tanks certainly number drastically in favour of SchoolBus, but a couple of shells whizzing through as the last 3 alive, Muka, Shell-Shocked and Wilk. I don't think they can find much here.
No, they can't actually even get in there in time. We've got 6 seconds left. Muka will take about 10 to 15 seconds to get any kind of reset, including the aiming time. So it will be SchoolBus picking up their 4th win in this matchup, only needing 1 more to actually take this through. But still, they have to play another attacking round. And although that was pretty one-sided, it can go easily.
It seemed hesitant,
It was hesitant. It could have gone both ways, and on a couple of points. They also missed a few shells here, there. Looking at the damage, Annihilator did do good stuff and in his Charioteer. So the Charioteer seems to be kind of used in these lineups more effectively than we saw it before.
We saw 2 before, didn't we?
Yeah, we saw 2.
It didn't really work out, did it?
No, it didn't work too well. I mean, we can have a look back at this one as the first movement, actually. Utopia tried to catch SchoolBus off guard, but by flanking around, they basically gave that northern area away, and that's where SchoolBus played around with the most of the rest of this battle.
Yeah, and I think for me, Utopia did okay. They didn't play well enough to the way they played on the first half. However, SchoolBus just didn't seem to have that real focus, that direction. And I look in comparison to Himmelsdorf. Himmelsdorf was beautifully done by them, really well, thought out, planned. The pushes were crisp. I didn't see that in this though. It seemed very lackluster at times. I'm a little. Not necessarily surprised, but, I thought maybe you can clearly see that they'd worked on Himmelsdorf for SchoolBus, and maybe not as much onto this map just yet. They've got a good idea how to play it, there's no questioning that, but I think that if there's any time for an upset, Utopia still has the potential here.
Yeah, I think the thing is, on Himmelsdorf, it's a lot easier to play, and it kind of gave SchoolBus, who are definitely a less creative team than in a lot of them, it gave them a chance to actually win a little bit more conveniently, a little bit more consistently. Now on Steps, it's a different story where tactics like Utopia's flanking around and their IS3s, they definitely have their place and they work. Lineups though, SchoolBus are sticking to what they know, sticking to what they had last time, so the Charioteer and that lot, and Utopia have picked up the M44. So they are going to pick up a tier 6 artillery as well, maybe to try and complement that T-54 lightweight, which they've also got. But it looks like a defensive lineup from Utopia, but we've seen them use IS-3, so this could potentially work as well.
It could do. I'm interested to see how it works with the artillery. First time we're seeing it against SchoolBus in a while without them having their own to reply with. If I'm not mistaken, Arclit isn't picking it this time.
No, he's not. He's just gone for the same lineup as last time.
That's fine. I was just making sure in my brain I wasn't wrong. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, how they kind of get around it. They clearly will know how to dismantle that piece by piece if they have to, but last time they looked hesitant. Maybe it's going to be a factor into this game. Hashtag WGLEU. Is it going to be a problem for SchoolBus to close this one out? They are currently sitting very close to walking away with a win here, but can they really do that final push? We'll find out any second now. What are you going to bet on?
I like the fact that Utopia have gone back to something a little bit more normal. They got the T-32 and then 44, a little bit strange, but you know, we've seen similar lineups from previous teams. So I don't know. If SchoolBus lose this, then they've lost themselves a point. And at this point in the season, a point is a huge difference. The difference between definitely a 6th and 7th place. I mean, you got a lot of teams on similar points or the same points. So, as I said before, 1 point is really a big deal. Now, SchoolBus knows that, we know that, and Utopia knows that, and it's what they do with that drive that gives them the extra edge to take that point. But the northern areas where they want to go towards, they got the M44 in the background, the 251 in the middle, so at least for SchoolBus the standard start, and clearly Utopia knows that as they're making blind shots with Potomaco towards Arclit.
And bearing in mind, this is match point. SchoolBus have 4 rounds beside them. Utopia merely have 3. And as you said, if it goes to a 5th map, that may not be good enough for either of these teams. One will probably have that as a bit of a hindering factor to them being in that top 6. So perfectly summed up by yourself there. But let's start looking at how this one will unfold. As 5 minutes to go, we are seeing kind of this map being polarized. East and west coming out here. And already, cap being started. What do we make of it being started this early?
Just putting some pressure onto Utopia. There's no reason why they shouldn't. They're probably not going to continue doing that for too long, as Dead Hunter got reset there. Wasn't even spotted, so good blind shot. Papa as well. You remember him from previous matches. He's been so good in that M44. Definitely one of the better artillery players at the beginning of the season. Will he be able to connect the next shell? He doesn't. He's obviously looking for Dead Hunter. So Dead Hunter being an attractive target, but a hard one to hit. And he does actually head out that cap a little bit too much heat. As I'm not sure exactly what SchoolBus wants to do. I mean, they clearly itching to try and go for some sort of engagement, but they're being pretty hesitant. They don't want to go too far forwards. Maybe they want to take advantage of the fact that Utopia are using the M44, the artillery. Also, the 251 gets spotted towards the right side, and Arclit all the way down south in the M41. Now, I want to see what he does, and that kind of gives us an idea of what SchoolBus want to do. The 251 is heading into the middle, so predicting that Utopia might want to flank around from the middle or towards the left side to try and stop this cap, and maybe trying to counter that with some of their own damage. But I think this might be the end game, at least a push for SchoolBus.
4 minutes to find out. Excuse me. They are looking as though they're lining up for it. Interesting positioning. Still got the Bulldog in the south, the 251 keeping close enough eyes on it. Oh, beautiful shot coming out from that artillery there. Showing Arclit it can be done. Papa letting that one fly, but still, it seems as though both these are quite hesitant to make that real big play, and I guess with 3 minutes left, there is still time to be considering your options.
Yeah, they've got a lot of tanks up north now. The M41 has headed towards the right side, so with the proxy spots, all the tanks from Utopia now heading north. That's going to give Arclit his way in the M41, and maybe he's going to go straight into towards the trench or head straight towards the middle, but he's got to do something pretty quickly, pretty sharpish, as again I said, it's going to be about that all in play for SchoolBus, and that's what they're going to go for. Shanish receives the first shell, and Nuclear gets stopped in his tracks via Papa, and it's not gone well so far.
Papa's doing the best he can here, because once they get to this range, he will be out of this. But Shanish on the drive-by gets absolutely split to pieces. Shell shock there, letting it rip into them, and SchoolBus is focus fire is appalling. Applewell's out on his own, he goes down to Bishu. This push has fallen to pieces. Finally they get a little bit of damage back, but they're still going down here. Bishu finally falls, 3 left. Arklet, Annihilator, and Dead Hunter. I don't know what the hell has happened here, but it is not what SchoolBus wanted.
No, this is very, very bad play from SchoolBus. Really, really a bad push, like really, really, really abysmal. And Arklet's finally got himself into this battle. Potomaka will probably fall, but actually Arklet's on reload. Annihilator will find Shell Shock though. So technically SchoolBus is still in this game, and although Dead Hunter's on a smither of HP, which I'm sure will be cancelled out by Papa as he's still spotted, and Papa is going to come off reload. And the Wicked, I think, just found that shell, but 2 minutes left on the clock, and this looks like it's going to be a tiebreaker.
It has to be. There's no way this can go another direction, as Dead Hunter and Arklet make it just Arklet left alive, and mistake after mistake for SchoolBus then. Looking sloppy, looking like they didn't know really what direction to go in it. Seems like they struggled to find any sort of form in this one, and Arklet, I think, knows that.
Yeah, they seem to be really, really unpracticed and just too predictable on this map's steps. They need to take a leaf out of Utopia's book, switch things up, try new things, and you'll be surprised how often it works. That's how... Well, the thing is, you know, the reason why SchoolBus beats Virtus Pro at the finals is not because particularly that they're a better team than Virtus Pro, it's because they basically switch things up a little bit. They change one element and that throws Virtus Pros off, throws Virtus Pro off, and that's what Utopia's done against them here on steps. They've just switched a couple of elements, 1 or 2, you know, the tank lineup or the positioning of the tanks, and SchoolBus has done the same thing SchoolBus has done this whole season, and it hasn't worked out for them. Arklet team captain still has 51 seconds. He would need to Amarak Muka, and then he could finish off Wicked and Potomako in that time period. 1.5k damage is the potential he has in that M41, and Muka just about spotting him there. So with that information, it's pretty much game over.
Yeah, I think it was game over a minute and a half ago, let's be honest here. With that play coming through from them, it just wasn't good enough. And as much as Arklet can just push himself out, it is 4-4 now, and I think this is a disaster for both sides in a way. That 1 point now less that they can really achieve is going to be a real issue going forward. If one of these teams now walks away with a loss, it's maybe not the worst thing in the world to get 1 point, but it's still probably not enough to keep him in that top 6 if it kind of goes the way we expect further down the line.
Yeah, this is bad. This is bad news for Utopia. This is bad news for SchoolBus.
Yep.
And, you know, one good result from a Kazna crew or a TCM or for any of those kind of teams would mean really, really bad things for SchoolBus and for Utopia, but definitely worse for SchoolBus as they are further down in 6th. But you can see how bad this is. First shell comes out onto Shanish. Nuclear gets tracked, but it would have never worked. Look how many tanks are ready and waiting from Utopia. Like, the whole team is just sitting there. You know, that's why you keep tanks in relatively close quarters, close positions, and near each other, but you keep them kind of in positions where they can shoot and they can make the shells easily, and that's what Utopia's done, and it's great for them, but really not hard, and SchoolBus should have never tried it.
I can't agree more. SchoolBus, they're just looking a little bit out of form, looking very unfocused. The push was awful, as you mentioned. I want to see more from these guys. They're a much more talented team than we're seeing here. And what is our deciding map?
I think we're pushing on to last one was Murvanka, Cliff even. So I think it's going to be, we have to decide who's going to be the team who's done the fastest round. So that's Utopia actually. So they get to decide which side they go on, and well, that's a big deal, to be honest. I mean, it gives you the advantage for sure, and it's just the quickest attacking team basically decides which side of the map they go on. Do they go on attack? Do they go on defense? And that makes a big deal. And this map will be steps again, I do believe. So we can stick to the same map again, but it looks like Utopia's going for the defensive side.
Well, a lot on the line going to this map, and Melly the people at home how those votes are going, because this game was very one-sided at the start, and now it's actually quite close.
Absolutely, but as said, the vote has stopped right before heading into the second match, so the one-sided result has sticked. It's still 78% for SchoolBus, which is actually pretty wrong right now, since the score is absolutely equalized. That's why we're going to the decider, right? And people at home actually predicted a very, very clear ending in favor to SchoolBus. So,
well, I guess they need to kind of readjust those votes, it seems. And Ollie, what are your thoughts on this play so far from Utopia? It's always been our focus mostly on how SchoolBus are playing, but how do you think Utopia are actually coming into this one? Because they were pretty much dead to the world on the first map. They lost 3-1. But they've turned everything around coming into this one. What do you make of it?
Well, clearly they didn't have any material against SchoolBus. I mean, that's what Utopia's been doing right now. They've been seeing what's SchoolBus has been doing on this map before, and they've just countered it perfectly with their own tactics. They couldn't do that on Himmelsdorf because they didn't have any material to do that on Himmelsdorf. As I said before, SchoolBus hasn't played that map for a very, very long time, since before December. So they were just like, well, let's just try a few things out and, counter normal tactics. They haven't played necessarily better than SchoolBus in terms of skill. I mean, yes, SchoolBus have been missing some shells, but they've just been outclassing them in terms of tactics. And that's been the theme, actually, for Utopia since day one. Utopia is that team that has these tactics nailed down, that they train, they know down to an absolute T, and it pays off dividends. And lineups are coming in. Again, as I said before, it's going to be steps. It's going to be Utopia on the attack, and of course, on the defense, and of course, SchoolBus on the attack. Kind of surprising, considering Utopia looked better on the attack than SchoolBus did, and SchoolBus looked weaker on the defense, so maybe a little bit surprised to you guys as well as me. Arclight picking up the GV Panther, Charioteer again being picked up with the Annihilator, and Utopia going for a mixture of 251s, AMX 3090s, and T37 as well in there. So pretty standard lineups from both teams.
Well, we saw the all-in play working out for Utopia. We saw the standard play working out for Utopia. They don't really have much to worry about, I feel, with the lineup. It's more, does finally SchoolBus find the form? Do they finally find a way to do this? Because so far we've seen very little of that from SchoolBus, who've just been drowning on this map. I think if it was going to be a different map as our decider, then I might put some faith back into them. However, they really have shown very little in the way of, let's say, potential coming into this one. However, maybe with it all on the line, they can finally step up. Maybe it has to go this far for them to decide that they want to play smart tanks. We'll have to wait and see. And what are we waiting on currently? The team's just discussing things.
We're ready to go. Just need to start the battle, and we should be underway. Any second now.
Okay, so any second now, we should be ready. Team's just doing what they do, taking their time a little bit. For this one, it is the deciding map, so we'll be sticking with us here while that one loads up and the teams do get themselves prepared. Obviously, a lot of changes of lineups. Hopefully, it's not too one-sided. Let's say there's no more IS3 stack, which I think we're aware there isn't. So at least there's that. Make sure you use that hashtag WGLEU and tell me your thoughts on who's going to win this one. What are yours?
I mean, Utopia's just been head over heels better than SchoolBus on this map, so maybe we have to go towards them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. I think SchoolBus have kind of let themselves down more than anything. It seems that they only prepared for one map rather than two, which is, I guess, if you picked up all 4 rounds on first map, then maybe it'd work. However, they didn't. They left that small margin of a comeback, and Utopia took the chances. However, we are into this one. It is the final deciding round. And on the attacking side, it will be SchoolBus. On the defending side, it's Utopia up in the north. And take me into this so far.
So Arclight playing the GV Panther. Big deal for him. He's playing a tier 7 artillery for one of the first times. He actually used the SU-14 as well, which is, didn't go too well. But let's see what he can do in the GV. It's more accurate. Does a good amount of damage. I mean, clearly the rate of fire is not quite as good, but it's a fantastic little tank to use. 1,250 damage, also 240 penetration with that heat ammo. Oh, but he's been caught out straight away as, the whole of Utopia has gone charging through the middle.
They certainly have, trying to switch things up at the last minute. This could be an error as well, bearing in mind that at the moment, SchoolBus are holding the advantage of HP. However, I believe finally someone noticed who was in front of them. It doesn't matter. Armley's found shell-shocked, and I don't know what's happened to Utopia. It seems like they've just decided that this is the round they wanted to do a SchoolBus in, and they better pull it off. If they did want to switch things up, they better make it work, because otherwise they have thrown this game so badly. They finally get the Annihilator down, but Shanish replies, it's a 3-for-1 exchange so far. Make it 3-for-2, and Nuclear is still low.
Yeah, Nuclear probably will fall, but Papa and kills Arclit. So actually it's going back and forwards, and now it's going to come down to player skill to whoever wins this.
And also HP, 1k left for Utopia, 2.7 for SchoolBus. Wilk, 30 HP, Potomako, 14. And Armley misses his shot.
Classic Armley.
Lines up, gets it. Bishu now down to 1 shot, takes it. Armley gets the double, and now just 2 alive. It seems that Utopia, during that small break, just lobotomized themselves, because that was absolutely unbelievable. Just charging in on the one round that truly matters. I don't know what they were thinking in this. However, they need to now stay alive, run away, and defend the cap for 4 minutes and 52 seconds if Apoar doesn't catch them already.
Yeah, Utopia making a bit of a mess of this one. Papa trying to do the best he can to get out of there. Potomako quite far away from SchoolBus, so he'll be able to live for a little bit longer. But as you said, 4 minutes left on this clock, over 4 minutes, it's game over. And, you know, I said, I don't want to backtrack, but I said Utopia quite tentatively. Didn't expect them to do that. And I didn't expect SchoolBus to have such good positions, and I think they just jumped the gun in this game a little bit.
I guess that slight lack of experience every now and then in comparison to SchoolBus maybe came into effect. I don't know, Utopia really did fluff their lines that time, and it's a real shame because they took the game so far, but the final blow comes in, and it's SchoolBus picking it up in overtime, 5-4 overall. Now, they won't walk away with the 4 points, will they, here? No,
they'll walk away with the 2, which will bring them up to 15 points, which will put them just below Utopia. So, still Utopia's on top of this game, and that kind of is okay for them. Utopia goes up to 17 points, and then it will be SchoolBus, and then it will be Wusa. So, you know, things shuffle around a little bit, but because of one of these 2 teams not picking up the 3 points, both of them don't really guarantee themselves a spot or don't get them into more of a safe zone. So kind of a disappointing result for both of these 2. It also gives the opportunity for Wusa to get into this game and Kasna. But, you know, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we can look at that initial play by Utopia. Of course, we can all see what the idea was. They wanted to take down Arclia and that GV Panther, cancel him out of the game. But it wasn't ever a good idea because SchoolBus would have always been with the higher ground towards the left and right of them, and they could just simply collapse down, deal with Bishu, deal with Wicked, and deal with McMoney. So kind of, I can see the idea, but they just didn't quite think it through, and it was a little bit too knee-jerk.
I guess you can say go big or go home. It was one of those that they went all in on that final round, which I feel if they'd probably played standardly, they would have probably done a lot better, but they made the risk, they took the choice, and sadly it backfired for them. However, Melee, the people at home, did have their faith in SchoolBus all along, but maybe not to that sort of close marker.
Not really. They're pretty much disappointed from the performance of both teams, actually. They expected more for this matchup, and I mean, we already saw both teams showing top performances over the season, so it was kind of unpredictable what happened today. So as said, the committee voted with clear 78% for SchoolBus, saw them definitely in favor, and SchoolBus also showed a brilliant performance on the first map. Well, on the second map, not so much as you guys witnessed. If not, don't worry, the VODs will be up soon, so you can rewatch this matchup on youtube.com/WGLU, which you should have followed already. And voices from the Twitter community also, SchoolBus blew that round. Well played, Utopia, with some great solo play. Tiebreaker, awesome. Not impressed by either team overall. So probably fair. So that's pretty much the voices from the community, which displays the disappointment in both teams.
Well, I think considering both of these teams are well within the top 10 and top 6, we should have expected a better performance from them. I think that SchoolBus truly let themselves slip in that map too. I think the map 1, Utopia probably should have done a little better. And there were mistakes on both sides. I don't know what the hell happened to these teams. On their own maps, they seemed very competent. I wish we could have blended them both, have half Himmelsdorf somewhere and half Steps, and just see where these guys, you know, really do lay, because I feel that it was the maps that won it rather than the teams in the end.
Yeah, sure. I mean, SchoolBus looked great on Himmelsdorf and Utopia looked great on Prokhorovka, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. And I think what we can take away from this game is that SchoolBus are getting better, but they've got a long way to go.
Absolutely, and maybe not being too confident after a good result from the first map, and maybe not caring too much about the further play.
Yeah, maybe counting the chickens before they hatched a little there, maybe being a little overconfident, assuming that 3-1, we've got this.
Yeah.
And then first round doesn't go your way. So we've got 3 more goes, it's fine. And then suddenly you're
Two
stuck
more goes, one more go.
and you're suddenly left with, well, I guess we're going into, pretty much that deciding map. It can spiral, and it's surprising because SchoolBus did seem very hungry at the start of this season. Now, maybe losing a little bit of that sight and focus there. I think we're seeing it slightly come back in some areas, but also being quite blurred in others.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, people, it still matters what you're thinking, so head over to Twitter and tweet us by using the hashtag WGLE. We want to know how you feel about this matchup, if both teams showed the game you wanted to see or not. Please tweet us, share your opinion. Tweet us directly at They Call Me Pansy, at Laughter WOT, or at Melly with an 3 instead of an E. And tell us what's on your mind. We love reading from you. So we will be heading into a short break, and then we'll be back with the second matchup, which is Ruling Leprechauns versus TCM. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 5 minutes.